Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Welcome to Two Ghosts, One... I always forget this part. What is it?
I'm not a ghost, I'm a ghoul.
One ghoul, one ghost, one this thing.
One long Tuesday night.
One long Tuesday night.
What is that?
Wouldn't it be chilly with no skin on?
If our friend Mark from Bruce is listening, he knows what that is.
I'm sure he does, and he's one of, from what I understand, one of 3 listeners that we have on a loyal basis.
Yeah, that's true. So I just alienated, 2/3 of her.
Way to call him
audience.
out and leave the others hanging.
Yeah, that's right. That's an old Canton classic. You wouldn't know because you weren't there yet.
Well, that's probably for the best then.
I suppose so. Hey guys, welcome to Two Boys, One Podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Zeke.
And this is our special Halloween episode.
And you can all say boo together in unison.
Boo. Do you think that it's like a ghost boo or like a boo like, this is terrible?
I think it's more like a stadium resounding boo with a few boo, like children in there
Boo.
that kind of got caught up in it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
At least no one was hurt in a tragic wave accident.
That's true. No new ghosts were made.
It's very good. It's the time of year that I like the most. I like to call it Halloween.
You're the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other people call it other stupid things, but
We won't speak up at this time.
Rob Laban, I like to call it Halloween. It's a very special time for me because I like horror movies.
That's a catchy name. I think it's going to catch on.
Halloween?
Yeah.
I hope so. I'll stand to make a mint.
You should
If
patent
it does.
Coin
I
it.
think I might try.
Would be a good story anyway.
Riddle me this, Zeke. I like riddling.
Uh-huh.
Who doesn't like a good piece of candy and a good
From
horror
a stranger?
movie? Always from a stranger.
Most children. But I guess for the sake of this conversation, it would probably be me. I don't particularly care for them.
You don't like pieces of candy?
I'll eat the candy, but I will generally avoid the horror film.
Well, you're weird.
Evidently, that's very true.
So, anyways, what I like to do in the Halloween season is watch as many horror movies as humanly possible. And I had to watch freaking Lethal Weapon in the middle of my damn... Ugh.
Well, you see, you should be thanking yourself now because you're getting in the mood for the Christmas spirit, and you won't have to watch it again now for the 12 Days of Die Hard. So you kind of inadvertently helped yourself out.
That's true. So this is what we're doing. Zeke has his, as we've talked about extensively, has his 12 Days of Die Hard Christmas marathon, and so...
And you have your thing that you haven't named yet.
Yeah, I told you it's Halloween.
Yep.
Let's come up with a name. What is this? It's Rob's Schlocktober.
Five-Finger Death Watch.
Five-Finger. I don't care for that.
Dead Reckoning.
Not one bit. Nope.
All Hallows Dead Reckoning.
Here it is. This is it. This is Rob's movie marathon.
Oh, that's another original classic right there.
Off to a great start.
Halloween 17. Since it's
Halloween
2017.
No, this is Halloween 32 for me. They started when I was born.
Oh,
33.
They got you started early.
33.
They got you
33.
started out of the womb. 5 months old, you're watching horror films. All right.
I will say, my earliest... I don't think I've told this story, but my earliest memory of horror movies, that is when the Tim Curry version was on TV as a miniseries. for some reason, my dad sat me down and had me watch it with him.
He probably really wanted to watch it, and you were just pouting.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, all I remember for sure is being absolutely terrified.
I just can see little Rob, like, drop-jawed in horror.
Hey, Georgie, you want a balloon?
Yeah. Probably didn't help you go to bed earlier after that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I only remember bits and pieces of it, but sleeping was difficult.
I'm sure. That. I remember being terrified of the movie Hook.
Yeah, sure.
Like when the green smoke came in and opened the window, that was horrifying. Yeah. So like beyond that, I was not gonna watch anything more extreme.
What's the first horror movie you can remember watching? Video Dead?
No. I mean, I'm sure we watched something. I think you made me watch part of They Live when we were in college. That I wouldn't classify that as a horror film, but I think it probably does count. But I'm sure we did something in high school. I can't think of anything offhand.
I mean,
like we had to have for some Halloween.
High school, I was deep in the horror movie watching. So I'm sure at some point you caught something.
I mean, I heard about it for 6 months when I was working in Denver. The lady I was working for was in the classroom of Halloween 1.
Oh, really?
And I think I watched it after that just to like make sure that she wasn't lying.
Was she?
She was in it. She didn't have a line. It was ridiculous. It would be like just saying that you're a famous extra.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, pretty typical for that character down there. Yeah.
Old Denver.
Yep.
What are you doing? What's that noise? Is that a ghost? Oh gosh, you got a ghost.
The ghost is getting ready to eat a tin can.
Ghost after my own heart.
Yep.
Okay, so this is what we're doing. I challenge Zeke to watch 5 of my favorite horror movies.
And none of which I had ever seen, which was, surprising.
I would say normally 2 movies that we have covered on previous episodes would have normally been on the list, but since we already talked about them,
Can I guess which 2 they were?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
I would not have guessed Evil Dead. I was going to guess They Live and The Thing, but evidently I would have been wrong on that.
You had The Thing, Evil Dead 2, though.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
You big dingus.
Well, it makes sense because of it being the second one. I'm surprised that the first one's not on there, but you do like the second Evil Dead better, so.
I do. I let you in. You had to get in on my dirty little horror secret here.
It's a horrible secret.
Horrible secret. And now I'm going to have to let the listeners know. A lot of times, I can think of 5 or 6 examples where I prefer, I'm not saying it's a better movie necessarily, but I prefer the second or even the third edition, or third installment of several popular franchises to the original.
And the only, in the films there are 2 instances today, though, out of the 5 that you do not prefer the second one.
Thinking, yeah. There's 1. That's 2. 3 examples.
3 examples? Well, no. One of them didn't even have a sequel, did it?
Sure it did.
Oh, well.
Which one are you? We can't. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. All right.
Yeah. So here it is. Zeke watched 5 horror movies. I'll watch at least 5 action movies for Christmas, and then we'll do this little thing we call podcasting. That's the word.
Instead of pod racing. Just as exciting.
Let's hear your best pod racer. I think you got a better start, but I got the better into the distance.
Yeah, you ran longer.
So you start it off, and then I'll finish it. Ready?
Yeah. I think that works.
Well, to all 3 of you, happy Halloween. Let's get started. Zeke?
Yep.
How would you like to start? Do you want to start with your favorite, my favorite?
Well, I have my notes listed in the order that I watched them.
Let's do it that way. That works for me. What did you watch first?
So the first one, I thought I'd just start at the one I'd heard would be the creepiest and get that one out of the way. So I started with The Exorcist.
Very good. I would say the only one on the list that's actually a little bit frightening. To me, extremely frightening. Why don't you give us the little synopsis, huh?
There are some issues with it that I'll bring up, but so the synopsis, as far as I know, is a famous woman's daughter gets randomly possessed, and they bring in a shrink priest and a adventure priest, and then try to exorcise her. And in the end, not everybody lives. It's kind of a decent ending, but then there's no follow-up. That's my synopsis.
Adventure priest. Huh?
Well, I mean, they spend 5 to 7 minutes of the opening treating him like he's Indiana Jones in Iran.
It was Iraq.
Okay, in Iraq. See? And then they spend all this time on all these little coins that he finds, and then you don't see him again for an hour and a half at all. He's just gone.
It's not an hour. You're exaggerating a little bit.
I don't think I am, because he's out of the picture for a huge part of time. It's just a weird way to establish a character that is completely out of the storyline for 80% of it.
I mean, yeah, sure. He's what's established. They find that little statue, right? Mm-hmm. And do you remember later in the film they find the little statue at the base of the stairs after?
Yeah, but they don't really explain how she got that, right? It just showed up.
But it
showed up. Yeah.
So, devil did it.
Okay, I mean, I think a lot of the questions that I have about it, that's going to be the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So the random guy that she kills, while possessed, she kills 3 people. The little girl, right?
I would say 2. Yeah, no, you're right, 3.
And one of them they just don't show, but it's kind of they say that she did it, but they don't show it. And they also the window happened to be open and he leaped. I don't quite understand any of that.
She broke his neck. She broke his neck and threw him out the window, you dingus.
But why was he in her room? I don't understand. It just...
He was watching her, the housemaid, lady, whatever, friend. Mm-hmm. She had to go out to get some cigarettes or something. She was having a terrible nick fit. Mm-hmm. And then the director guy stopped by and he's like, sure, I'll watch her. That's no problem. And then...
But I thought, I mean, then they brought up later in the film that he was working on a witch movie, right?
Did they?
Yeah. So that's why the detective started talking to that shrink priest anyway. It's like, we have this director who was murdered in a weird way, while he was working on a witchcraft film, maybe there are things afoot that we're not aware of. What do you think? And then, would you like to go to a movie with me? That was the discussion path there.
I think maybe because he was working on the witchcraft movie, he had the little thing. Maybe it was his fault.
I guess that could have been, but she was already sick before that, or possessed before that.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was playing with the Ouija board. That could have been it.
Well, yeah, she talked to Captain Howdy.
Yeah, Captain Howdy.
Yeah, I mean you got to
Captain Howdy. That's not very nice.
It was an excellent day for an exorcism.
What an excellent day for an exorcism. I mean, I have to be honest. Horror movies don't scare me too much, but this one, even to this day, even as I watch this, just gives me the fucking creeps, man. So I was keeping myself pretty distracted as best I could.
No, that makes sense. I was worried about that same thing, so I was keeping myself distracted too. I watched it in the middle of the day, just because I'd only seen the creepy parts of it. But
I made sure I watched it at night, because if I can get scared, I'd like to, and I did.
Sure.
So I might have missed. I forgot. I didn't realize he was working on a witch pick. Witch pick.
Witch pick. Yeah.
Witch pick. Yeah. What other questions do you have? I know everything.
Oh, obviously. Well, I guess I don't think I'm gonna have any questions that get me a better answer than the devil did it. So I think I'll just point out. Yeah, it's. I have a few quotes that I really liked. Like, there seems to be an alien pubic hair in my gin. I liked that. Also, I'd probably go to a film with Detective and Father Paranoia. I don't know where were they running off to at the end. Like it seemed like they made the mother famous and then didn't really do anything with it other than she was, bothered when the father first approaches her. Like she's been, like people ask her for things all the time, but she's there to meet him.
Please go away.
Yeah. Well,
he was in his street clothes. She didn't know he was a priest.
Right. He was in his run boxing clothes.
His If you're going to call the other priest adventure priest, you're going to have to call him run boxer priest.
Run boxer priest. All right.
Yeah.
Damie. No, it was creepy. They did a great job on the contortion scenes. There were some issues I had with like taking a girl to the doctor because her bed is shaking. Seems like a weird thing. But other than that, it was good.
Let's say your daughter's bed is shaking. What are you going to do? I mean, I know what I'm doing. I'm getting the fuck out of there. But,
I'm shutting the door and hoping she's okay.
Yeah, right. I'm going to the Vatican. And,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm staying there for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I mean, what else are you going to do but go to the doctor? I mean, do you go to the priest first? I mean, even if you do that, they're going to send you to the doctor. So I think it's kind of like the...
Well, I mean, what would the doctor... Like, best case scenario...
Obviously, they give you a spinal tap and they put a little thing in your throat that makes blood squirt out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that part made perfect sense. I don't know why they wouldn't do that for a regular, like, flu shot. Just stick this thing in your throat, blood's going to come gushing out, and we're
going
to tell you that you're lying, that your bed's shaking, but that's going to fix it.
It is pretty funny that they're just like, oh, it's a psychosomatic problem. I mean,
yeah, it was like they kept saying it was a mental issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. But overall, I think that for all five of these films, I bought them. So I don't know if you want me to rate them that way.
Well, just a second. I got a few. I have some favorite quotes too.
All right.
Did you see what she did, your cunting daughter?
And I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure that that's the C word, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they used it 2, maybe 3 times.
I should. I didn't have my ears closed.
Well, it's hard to close your ears and your eyes. I did like the mask shots.
Yeah.
And I guess that those were failed makeup tests that they just threw in there randomly.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think those are only in the extended edition, which you must have seen.
Yeah, so that's I probably did watch just the extended version.
Yeah. Which is good. I find it far creepier. Then again, I don't exactly remember just the theatrical release so much. But did you see her crawling backwards like a spider crab thing?
Yeah, I did. And I guess that they had cut part of that out when it was initially released, which seems weird because that's why I thought that's why it was famous, and evidently that's not true.
No, boy, I remember seeing it in the theater that way. Oof.
That was definitely that was impressive. I mean, the contortionist that did that was amazing, and they used wires as well, but. The one part of it that I did think was weird, I mean, of course she didn't do the voice,
Right.
That was, like, I don't know what an adolescent child that could ever do that. But that isn't a chain smoker, And the woman who did it was, she gave up her sobriety and started downing whiskey and chain smoked the whole thing. That scared
your art.
The director said he was terrified about that. Like, she possessed herself to do the voice, and the voice was great. But
Karis. Hey, Karis.
She at first refused to take credit because she wanted it to be creepier for people to think that it was the girl. But then the girl got an Oscar nomination for it because the Academy thought that it was her doing it.
No, really?
And then the woman was like, well, I might as well get credit now. And then the Academy was like, wait, you didn't do it? And so you can't take a nomination back from somebody once you give it until this last year when they did. So it was a weird dynamic. Like it was great that she got a nomination. It's the first horror film that got nominated. It's also, if you apply the inflation, it's the number one grossing film that Warner Brothers has ever made, which is insane.
Cool.
But it was a weird like soap opera beneath the film, I guess, going on. Kind of a fun thing.
I'm sure that was really fun.
I mean, I'm sure it wasn't fun for them.
Yeah, they loved it. And that was
it was probably great. You know what? If you give me an Oscar nomination and then try to take it away, I'll still take it. I'll still wear it, even if it's for something that I didn't technically do.
Yeah, just like boy, you and your stories. Yeah, good. Just throw it in your little satchel of unbelievable things.
Yeah, I mean, it's working out so well for me right now that I probably will get credit for something that I didn't do, and it'll be better than anything else I did.
I hope that's not the truth for you.
Go suck an egg.
Ghost suck an egg.
Yep.
That's a good Halloween pun. What about that Max Van Sydow? Did the makeup department get some sort of a nod?
So you and I don't know if they got a nomination, but you and I were just talking about this. They did a bang-up job. Like, he looks like that today, right? I mean, that's pretty cool. And I guess how they did it was they had someone put their hands on his head and, like, pull the skin taut, and then they applied the makeup so that then when they released it, that's how they got the wrinkles and whatnot.
That sounds painful.
He did not care for it. He said it was pretty frustrating. He was also shocked by the language used by the little girl.
Sure. What? So she was saying the lines then? Is that how they synced it, or?
So the foul language, not like the demon voice, but she did. She said.
Yeah. So
like
she was saying.
She was
saying
lines.
that.
Yeah. So.
What a prude! He's in a fucking possession movie.
Right.
I'm surprised there's. Max Van Sydow, go back to
the stage.
Dutch, yeah. Anyways, I guess you got to see what he was going to look like.
And what is it now? 35 years?
Yeah.
40 years?
Exactly. It's exactly like he did there.
Yeah. It's good foreshadowing.
Weird, wild stuff, huh?
Yep.
Okay, rate it. What you spent? How many bucks?
So I think I spent $6 on the DVD.
Okay.
I would give it. I would give it $4 out of 6.
4 out of 6. That's not too bad. I own it, but it's currently in South Dakota, so I did rent it. So for $3.99, I don't know if I should add the price of the DVD. I got it when it came out. That was probably like $15. So about $20. I'll give it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to give it like a $17.
$17. All right.
Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's genuinely creepy. I guess I give it a pass on plot holes.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to judge it on plot because at the time, I understand that at the time it had never been done before.
Yeah.
So I mean, the effects that they did, and they caused hysteria in the theater. So that's impressive. That doesn't happen. I mean, that is an achievement, and I think that's what they set out. I mean, best case scenario, I don't think they even thought that was an option. So good on them for doing that. Spawned a whole how many are they up to now for spin-offs? Like 8?
Yeah, and a TV I don't know about 8, but 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 movies that I'm aware of in a miniseries.
Does that include the Emily Rose ones as well?
I mean, I guess it's kind of started a genre, if that's what you mean. But
yeah, we'll say genre. I don't know. I mean,
okay,
four direct movies and a TV show.
I was doing direct movies. That would be like 4 in a TV show. But if you're talking genre, I mean, tons. I mean, not tons, but 30, 40, easy.
That's impressive. So, I mean, that is... You don't run into that very often.
No, you sure don't.
That's a big deal.
And movies don't scare me too much, and that doesn't happen. So, Am I repeating myself, sort of?
No, I mean, you and Dom talked about it a little bit at the film festival, too.
Yeah,
I mean, for both of you, this was kind of the crux. And
yep.
For two people who have spent their lives amidst horror films, I mean, to stand out among them is pretty impressive.
It's scary.
It's terrifying.
It is indeed. I would say I do not make a point of watching it every Halloween for my festival, but I figured it was one that you needed to see. So most of these are just my favorites, but that one I did throw in there as a little bit of horror history, I suppose you could call it.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. I got scared for you.
Did you? Well, I told you. I texted you.
You weren't even, and you. I forgot. So you didn't even get that creeped out, did you? It wasn't even. You're just like,
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. I think I'd built it up in my head so much that I was going to be, just under a blanket, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I've run across that. Like many people in my life have just thought it was really funny and stupid. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like I guess possession stuff, demon stuff, really spooks me.
Well, I mean, it was certainly creepy. Don't get me wrong there. But I think it would have made a much deeper impact if I had watched it when I was younger.
Sure. Or if you're Catholic.
Sure.
I don't know about that.
I mean, keep those crucifixes away from young girls.
Yeah. Or something bad may just happen.
Or, bad things are definitely going to happen.
Yeah, we'll leave that to things that make Rob have to close his eyeballs.
Yep. For sure.
Okay. For sure. Shall we move right along?
Yeah, so the next film that I watched was Return of the Living Dead.
Return.
Oh, before we get quite there, Exorcist is one of the movies that you didn't like the second one of.
Correct.
I meant to say that. So.
Yeah, you're correct. You recognize that?
Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Look alive! Okay. Stand by the door and brain it with that axe.
Oh, Gloria's taking her clothes off again.
Trash is taking her clothes off.
Yeah, whatever.
Great character name. So I want to know if there was a discussion for Lena Quigley's character for wardrobe. Like, what are we going to have you wear? Oh, don't worry about it. I'm naked the whole time.
She wasn't naked the whole time.
Most of the movie. I don't even know how you like this film. You weren't able to watch any of it.
I mean, it's actually the reason I can't. This is the one time in my life I was able to keep my eyes open.
Well, really?
It was after this. We'll get to it as we progress into the story. But this is, hit us with the sin.
So the Night of the Living Dead, they had what was that 1968 that came out?
Yeah,
they were trying to
close enough
make a sequel to that film, but they couldn't get Romero to answer his phone. So rather than take his ideas and pull a Tarantino where you put quotes around the word homage and plagiarism, they took the script that they had and they made it funnier and 80s. It was the 80s, so they 80s-ized it. And it's about, they have the creatures from the Night of the Living Dead that they randomly have in this morgue. Or not morgue.
It's a medical supply.
Medical supply. You need a medical supply. And which is just funny. You need a medical. And they have this I don't know, this kid who hangs out with a bunch of weird the Too Cool for School group. And they're punks. Yeah, he gets a job at this You Need a Medical Supply, and his boss is a lunatic. And he just at first I thought he was just giving him shit. Keep going. But no, he's like, no, we got those bodies here. You want to see them? And he takes him down to the basement and opens up one of the casks, and it's full of all this gas stuff, and it gets all over him, and it basically turns them into zombies. Well, then the body that had been in that comes to life, and so they get one of these bodies and they try to destroy it, and they burn it in the kiln next door with a hiding Nazi.
Kiln.
Yeah, I mean they crematorium. Right?
There you go.
And so then the smoke rises from the ashes, and it infects everybody in the surrounding area. And
it rains, you dingus.
It causes rain, and it rains the ash back down to earth. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand how to apply reason to it, but they.
You're confusing everyone.
Are you like playing in sand? What are you doing over there?
I got some coffee now. I'm just kind of getting comfy again.
All right. So then just like the punks try to find save their friend, but their friends are dead. And then the military comes in, and they have like this watch group. This general's been trying to find these casks by watching this computer in his living room. And there's a girl who starts she just starts stripping in the resurrection cemetery, and then from that point on, just doesn't have clothes on even as a zombie.
I mean, that might be the most confusing synopsis to anything ever.
Well, I tried. What can I do? I tried.
You did a terrible job.
Why don't you take over?
Okay, you ready? I'm just remembering my synopsis. Synopsi. Okay, there's a guy. He got a new job at a medical supply center, right? And then they go in the basement, and there's a canister.
Absolutely covered that already.
Well, I thought I was starting over.
Fine. I thought you were going to do it better.
I mean, you let me get like 3 seconds in, and so you can already tell it's worse.
Okay, go do it again.
Okay, and they go in the basement, and they got the zombies from Night of the Living Dead in these canisters, and then the guy goes, "Yeah, the guy that's getting the job, he says, do these things leak?" And he goes, "This was made by the Army Corps of Engineers," and then he taps it, and then the steam comes out of there, green smoke, I should say, and they go, "Oh God!" and they're coughing and coughing. And this gas, it gets all over the medical supply center, and they got stuff like half dogs, which they use for dissection class or something. And then there's a corpse in a walk-in freezer. And they came to life, and they said, "Well, that's not any good. And what do we do?" So they're like, they call their other boss. He comes in, and they say, "Let's destroy the brain with a pickaxe." And then they hit it, but he didn't die. So then they cut his head off with a hacksaw, and they cut him up more, and they go to the crematorium across the street, and they're like, "We gotta burn this up. We're best friends." And that's a guy from Trapper Chicks, and
yeah, he's the lone gun mortician in this movie.
Yep. And he likes to listen to opera songs while he's
and he speaks German, and he's blonde.
Yep. And so then they put all the body parts of the zombie and they're all moving, and they put it in the crematorium, and they burn it, and the smoke goes up the chimney, and then it gets in the clouds, and then it rains down on the cemetery. And in the cemetery, the guy who's getting the new job, his friends are hanging out there, and there's a naked girl, and then all the zombies come to life, and they can't be killed, and it's a real problem.
It's a real problem. You're right. Yours was better. So, I wish that at the beginning they had embellished a little bit more on all the skeletons come from India, because there's a skeleton farm in India.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was my favorite little segue that wasn't pursued in the whole movie.
I had started listening to the audio commentary on this, and I got to pretty much exactly that before I decided, like, I just don't care about behind-the-scenes stuff enough, or at least I didn't. In this particular viewing, I love this movie too much. It's too fun to. So they had heard a story, and apparently it was true that a lot of skeletons came from India, and at some point, people got suspicious, and they think people were getting murdered for their skeletons in India. And
well, I wouldn't be surprised, because it happened in England. That's what that Burke and Hare, those serial killers did. They were trying to. They were grave robbers, and then H.H. Holmes. That's what he did in Chicago.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's a great way to dispose of evidence and make money. So
apparently so, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, as the movie points out, the embalming business is basically passed on by word of mouth. So,
I love this movie.
This was pretty good. I think this was my favorite of the 5.
Was it?
This was a good movie.
Yeah, this one I make sure to watch every
Halloween
season, and sometimes it makes its way in between too. But
I guess that the taglines for it were written by one of the creators of The Simpsons, so that's kind of fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Matt Groening.
Yeah.
So let me tell you the story of how I came across this film.
You were just looking for a stripper in a cemetery, and you're like, "Oh, this is perfect."
Oh yeah, this was back when I was a bad little dirty boy. Mm-hmm. So I actually came across it by accident. 'Twas the year of our Lord. 'Twas the year of our Lord. Probably 1999, perhaps, maybe 98. I was but a wee lad at the time of
9th grader.
Yes, or maybe 8th grader. And we had just gotten Cinemax on our TV. And dirty little boys like myself sometimes would watch Cinemax late at night to see dirty little things. I think you can probably imagine. Things I must shut my eyes for now.
Things we all have to shut our eyes for.
Yeah, right. So, well, anyways, I might have gotten caught watching some of these movies. So I came up with the brilliant idea of recording these things, turn the TV off and just put in the VHS. It was it's not the worst little scheme.
It's a smart play.
Yeah, I didn't really know what was going to be on, but, I start recording at about 11. And
you got a pretty good idea what's going to be on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's what I figured.
Yeah, you can't lose.
I knew enough. Yeah. Anyways, so,
Heads up move.
So I recorded one night, not really knowing what I was going to catch. Kind of exciting. So, I don't know when I was watching the tape a little later in the week, and it had recorded the Return of the Living Dead, and it was love at first sight, let me tell you. I was pretty early in my horror, getting deep into my horror loving, and I just fell in love, and then I saw a zombie's boobies, and a girl's boobies, and then she turned into a zombie, and her boobies were out.
They just did not want to put her in clothes the whole film.
Yeah. No. And I said, nope, I can't. From that day forward, I said I would never look at her boobies again.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It was I wasn't at all what I expected it to be. It was just kind of a fun Halloween film, and I can see watching it, Halloween's going forward.
For sure. For people that haven't seen it, it's just completely over the top. It's not excessively gory, really.
No, it's kind of funny in the way that Ghostbusters is funny, and then gory in the way that The Thing is gory.
Yeah, like fake gory, be campy, gory.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my favorites from way back. I remember after I gotten that recorded, I showed it to probably not you, but other friends, and we all just loved it. And we watched it pretty frequently. It was frequently played. It has a very, very sacred place in my heart.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. I looked up some of the characters in it, and I guess Leanna and the guy from Chopper Chicks, what's his name? Don Calfa.
Yeah, Don Calfa.
They've done a few movies together, and I think their career, they both still talk about how much they love this at all the Comic-Con things.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's must have been a hoot to make.
And one of them, that Miguel Nunez, I don't know if it's true or not, but on the trivia page they said that he was homeless when they cast him in this movie.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So just kind of they got a great cast together for it. And I think that Leanna,
it's well acted,
perfect for her because from the sound of some of her quotes and some other films that she's done, she will go out of her way to not put clothes on films. So this was perfect for her.
Do you ever fantasize about dying?
Well, I just want to be
the worst way to
surrounded
die.
by men and
Old
eaten
men,
alive.
and they start biting and eating me alive.
Well, it's a dream come true for her.
Bump. Oh, Trash is taking her clothes off again.
Yep, there you go. And at some point, I think at the beginning, it says the events portrayed in this film are all true. The names are real names of people and real organizations.
They, in the commentary, they still proclaim that it was true.
I like it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird. It's a weird title because I even while I was watching, I was trying to think like, what was this? Like, where did this come from? And they were just trying to capitalize on Romero. So.
Yeah, before I figured it out, I mean, it does. With a name like that, you would think it would be a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, but it's.
And it was intended to be. That's just not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know. They were able to keep the name at least.
Well, I mean, like they said, they couldn't get Romero to answer the phone.
What are some of your favorite quotes?
I think the embalming business is basically passed on by word of mouth is my top favorite. The other one is stand by the door and brain it with that axe. I love that line.
One of my
favorite. Just the discussion about the skeleton farm.
Sure. One of my favorite lines is Freddy says a curse of something. I don't remember what he says, and the other guy says, "You better watch your mouth, boy, if you like this job." Like this job?
Yep.
After they're...
they're like running for their lives. They're actually already dead. They've been dead for most of the film and just didn't realize it yet.
Yep.
And then the zombies were saying, like, send more medics.
Yes,
send more cops.
More paramedics. Yeah. That's one of my favorite quotes for some reason.
That was funny.
More brains. That was passed along amongst my friends quite a bit.
Yep, I think I've heard you say that a few times.
Yeah, yep, of course.
I don't remember how it ends exactly, so I'll have to watch it again.
They got nuked.
That's right. Everybody died. That's what it was. Yep.
They got nuked.
I forgot. Yeah, they did the general guy who was in his living room. He's like taking notes, like, yep,
What effect did that have? Oh,
yep.
I see.
Well, we'll be right there. By the way, we're going to kill you.
Yeah. I will say some of my favorite lines were when Freddy he's died and he's turned to a living dead. Just some of his talking. He's just like, "Tina, I really hurt myself. My hand fell right off.
Yep.
It's okay. I just want to eat your brains." Man, I just love it.
He was adamant. He just wanted to get in there.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah. And then it was, the thought process on some of them as they're running for their lives was, left a little to the imagination. But she ended up in an attic when she got nuked. So
yep.
I think she probably got her brain eaten right before the nuke fell.
I think right when he busted in, that's when the nuke fell. Did you happen to catch how the guy, what's his name, the Nazi guy? You keep calling him a Nazi?
Don Kalfa. Well, yeah, he's supposed to be a Nazi in hiding.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, that's why he's talking to the rain in German. I rewound it like 3 times. I was like, what did he say? Yeah. And it's because I don't speak German. And then he had the Luger.
Luger,
yeah. Which is weird. It's a weird thing. Like he was packing before there was a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah,
he was ready. Yeah.
He had a leg holster just while he's embalming.
Yep. Which is evidently one of the secrets that's passed on by word of mouth.
Yeah. Did you happen to catch how he broke his ankle?
I did not. So he was in the church when it happened, right? And he
right.
Twisted it and fell through a door.
Well, they're boarding up the chapel door because Freddy's trying to bust through, and he literally, if you watch it, he just falls backward, like his ankle doesn't even bend or anything. But he literally just falls on his back and rolls, and that's how he sustained a broken ankle.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's a solid plot stretch there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I just assumed that he'd heard it in real life, and they just pretended that he had heard it somewhere.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, every time I see something like that, I'm like, they just must have stunt up, and that he really broke it somehow. I usually just assume that it's something behind the scenes that I'm not privy to.
And then they changed the whole... I guess that's not too unbelievable. Well, so let's rate this old son of a bee. Or did you have anything else? Of course.
No, I didn't. I think I paid $9 for it, and I would pay $8.50 again.
$8.50. So far, so good. Yeah. Owned this one. I don't remember what I paid. Let's just say it was $10. I would pay $10 gladly. Again, I absolutely love it.
I mean, even though the plot was absurd, like it held together.
Yeah,
for the I mean, you buy the concept, you buy the film, and the plot on this one made more sense to me than The Exorcist did.
That's interesting. So it's safe to say it's got the two boys' stamp, seal of approval.
2 boys, 4 thumbs, seal of approval.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Next up is Halloween 3, which it's a odd. This has nothing to do with Halloween. So from the synopsis standpoint, I don't quite understand how it breaks down, but it's about a toy factory. That infernal ad.
You knew it was coming.
I did. It's about a evil toy maker and I guess robots, and everybody dies at the end of this one too. Did I sum it up well? I'm gonna be in front of my TV at 9 o'clock.
Grooving.
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock.
It's a little late for kids. I was grooving. I was grooving to the little tune there, so I didn't hear anything you said.
So I butchered it.
No, I heard you. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. So I thought you said this was made of short films.
What I was trying to say, when I was explaining the concept of it, after Halloween 2, it's my understanding that I don't know if John Carpenter was involved, who exactly was making these decisions, but all the Halloween movies after Halloween 2 would be an anthology, meaning sort of like more like a American Horror Story thing, where each film would just be like its own.
The film itself.
Not each film would be an anthology with many stories in it. But does that make sense? Yeah,
I was trying to figure out as I was watching it. I thought that every time they showed the day that it was like a different storyline.
No, okay.
Eventually, I was just like, this is. It's just a weird long story that doesn't have anything to do with Halloween.
Yeah. So to the listeners, that's what happened. This is the only in the long string of Halloween movies. I don't even know how many there are anymore. 9 or 10, I suppose.
Plus
this is
the
only
new one.
Is there a new one coming out? Oh,
yeah.
Boy. And 2 remakes, of course. This is the only one not set in it's not set in the universe. That they do some homages to Michael Myers, but there's no Michael Myers. It's a standalone movie that has nothing to do with the rest of them, because they were planning on making every Halloween movie after this into anthologies, and then after they made this one, I think it was probably a flop. And then they went back to Michael Myers.
Well, I mean, I understand how, because it's not that the movie's bad, but when you watch it, you plan on having a Michael Myers character, and there's just not. Like, they show the film Halloween on the TV.
Playing a couple times,
twice, but that's the only tie-in, and the rest of it's just, it's a decent film. It's just they used a better title than it deserved for the sales pitch, so. It was
and I mean, it's especially back in. I should probably know the dates of these things, but that's just not my style. Like back in the 80s, it's hard to disseminate information. Like if it was the internet these days, everyone, or it'd be pretty easy to figure out. Oh, so it's not going to be involved. They're trying to do something different. I mean, back in the day, I mean, you may have heard of it if you were into the trade magazines or something. But Halloween 3, you'd be expecting Michael Myers, and then you wouldn't find it. So
easy to be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was good.
Yep.
I didn't expect the robots.
No?
No, I didn't.
I'm gonna go grab some coffee. Keep talking.
So, this is about a doctor who his ex-wife has custody of his kids, and his ex-wife hates him, and his kids don't see him much, and he doesn't get good Halloween masks for them. No, but then one night, this guy comes into the hospital who's been he just like drops dead in front of this gas attendant, and
he wasn't dead.
He wasn't dead, but he was near death. He goes catatonic, and they wheel him in, and the doctor checks on him, and then this guy walks into the hospital afterwards and kills him. He squeezes his head together until his eyes go inside, and his skull splits. And then the doctor runs out and is like, "Hey, dude, you can't kill people in my hospital. I work here." And then the guy goes to his car and dumps a handy little 3-gallon jug of gasoline on himself, and his car explodes when he lights it on fire. And then the next day, they still haven't moved the body out of the hospital room. It's still just laying there. And his daughter comes in, and she's like, "Hey, that's my dad. I want to see him." And then she's like, "Oh, no. How could this have happened?" And then the doctor and the daughter go on this sleuthing spree to try to get to the bottom of it.
Joint forces. Doctor says, "Boy, that was suspicious. Let's figure this out."
Yep. And then he completely abandons his family and goes on the road with this young girl. And after they bone a couple times, he says, "Wait, how old are you?"
Yeah. I mean, at least he thought about it at some point. Regular Harvey Weinstein up in here.
Yeah, for sure. And she was not underage. It just seemed like out of place.
She's much older than she looks.
That's what she said. That's her answer. I'm much older than I look.
She was. I don't know what she was supposed to be in the movie, but she was definitely like in her 30s, or close to at least.
Well, I'm not sure how you judge the age of a non-human.
Of a robot.
Mm-hmm. So I also didn't understand the transition there. Like, did she become a robot while she was in that room?
I was paying more attention to it. I just watched this last evening. I think she probably always was. But it's hard to.
But that doesn't make sense if she always was, because the guy says it's easy to make them, and all of the other ones look alike. Like, they all look the same.
No, that's true.
They're all like clones of toys. So he must be able to make people into them. It just seems weird that, like, the whole time they're using like witchcraft, which is very strange. Like, it's called Season of the Witch, and evidently he's some sort of witch. But that is a very vague.
They're called warlocks, you know.
But the movie's called Season of the Witch. It's not called Season of the Warlock. I don't know. I don't know the rules.
Do you have to make me feel like an asshole, like every chance you get?
It is what I wake up for every day. It's why I get out of bed.
Had to stick it to him today.
Yeah. I'm going to talk to Rob today, and I'm going to really twist it in there.
God damn it. Fine, all right. He's a witch, okay?
Well, I don't know. Like, the whole time he's a toy maker, plus he's some dark lord. And then they amidst the robot building, they managed to steal Stonehenge.
Would you let me break in here for a second before you go on into another rant here?
All right.
Jeez Louise. So I would just like to cover the evil plot here. The witch man, the man that's a witch in question, he runs a little factory that makes Halloween masks. One's a skeleton, one's a jack-o'-lantern, and one's a witch. And he's got these little chips. It's like a pin almost. That's on the back of the mask. And his evil plot is he's stolen a piece of Stonehenge because he's an Irish witch. I have to keep calling him a witch. Ugh. I don't know. Back in the day, they used to sacrifice kids to appease, I don't know, whoever, Beelzebub or whatever the hell. So now he says, well, I got to do that too. So he puts a piece of Stonehenge into each of these pins that's on the mask, and apparently Stonehenge rocks have some crazy magic power. And then the factory that makes the masks, for some reason, everyone in the whole United States wants these masks because all the kids are wearing them. And they have this commercial, which is really fun. I don't know, Zeke, if you remember it at all. It goes like this.
Oh, that sounds, yes, that's the one I was playing on repeat.
You hear that theme quite a few times in this movie. Mm-hmm. Anyways, kids are going to sit in front of the TV on Halloween for a big giveaway, which is just a sham. And they're going to play a special signal, and that will activate the power of the Stonehenge in the pin, and then it makes the kids' faces melt, and then bugs and snakes come out of them.
Yeah.
And that's not a lie.
No, bugs and snakes come out, which is great.
Pretty neat.
Pretty fantastic. And then if the mask doesn't melt and kill you, then the snakes bite you to death. But
that's
the toy maker. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oldest trick in the book. The old
snake in the face.
No. It's the old Stonehenge rock particle and the mask.
Yeah, I
TV
fall for it every
transmission.
time.
Yeah, I'd be too. God. If I had a dime for every time I've been melted and had bugs come out of me.
You wouldn't need to work anymore.
No, I wouldn't.
He made Santa Mira what it is today. A dried up little pile of nothing.
Anyways, he's got robots, lots of robots.
Yeah, clone robots. They're fun, they're frightening, and they glow in the dark.
And one of them will have sex with you.
Yeah, but before they
or maybe it's just a girl.
Maybe it's like that's roulette. Yeah,
it's unknown for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you got a 6 p.m. curfew, you know what happens behind closed doors is you only have so many things. That's
He really rules that town with an iron fist. That old Cochran.
Yep, I mean he's a true genius, a great man, Colonel Cochran, a true genius.
How about when our hero Tom Atkins he drops all those? He plays the signal to activate the pins with the Stonehenge rock in them, and he drops them. He drops them right there in the film studio, and then they all explode and kill all the robots. And then Cochran looks up at him because they're in the rafters, and he claps a little bit. He goes, and then he's zapped with some power, and he just smiles, and he looks like I don't even know, a light being, and he just disappears.
Yeah. So I had two questions about that scene. One, everybody in there was zapped.
Yeah, they're all robots.
Yeah, they're all robot. I get that, but it's like the little chips knew that they are robot, and none of the bugs and snakes came out.
None of them snakified. No, I don't know.
Yeah, and the other thing, I kind of took it as like he was saying, hey, you won this one, but your girlfriend, she's one of us. Except that's not. It seemed like she just kind of woke up because she was helping him. Like she hadn't lost her mental capacity to realize like this is the trajectory the storyline has taken. She just like turns to him in the car after they're not they're trying to beat the deadline.
That's to kill him.
And decides, you know what, I'm gonna choke him to death. So
didn't work out though.
Well, it didn't for her, and it didn't for anybody else either, because you can't just call into a TV station and have them shut off what they're airing. And so
you can get 2 out of 3. You can get 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. But much
that
like
ain't bad. That ain't bad.
That ain't bad. I'll take those odds. Much like Return of the Living Dead, this film kind of ends with everybody going, "Well, we're dead."
I mean, they don't really die. I mean, just all the kids,
all the kids are dead.
They got bugged, and then I guess
probably the snakes will get you.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone. Hopefully, was wearing masks.
That's true. I mean, not everybody's dead. They just did a reaping.
And some of the parents are going to get away without getting bit by a rattlesnake that came out of their kid's melted mouth.
Yeah, I don't know how many parents. I mean, it's not rational by any means. So they're not gonna like most of them. And when they showed it in the one scene, they watched their kid's head melt, and they're like, "Oh no, how can we help you? He's clearly dead." And that's when the snake just like jumps on him. So.
Yeah, I guess in the scene in question, there's a child, and he's a test, and he gets snakified, and I think the mom just dies of fright, apparently.
Yeah. Not the strongest scene.
No. And then the dad gets bit by a rattlesnake.
Yeah. Several times. Just, that's what you get for being top salesman for masks.
Yeah. Yeah, you watch the film, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
You almost got linked. Had we not done this special episode, we would have probably done this instead of Royal Tenenbaums for our next film, as Tom Atkins was in Lethal Weapon.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even recognize him when I rewatched that.
Yep.
Who was he
in Lethal Weapon?
Yeah. Oh, he's the dad. He's Hunsicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the guy that Murtaugh keeps talking to.
His daughter threw herself out of a window.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm in too deep. Oh, you're not in too deep. You're just too old for it.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
So I got this in a combo with Halloween 2, and it was $5.99.
Yep.
So I guess I can cut that in half for what I paid, right? So I paid
sure.
$2.98, $2.99. I'll say $2.99. I would say I would pay $5. I would pay more than I did for this.
No kidding. You liked it that much?
I didn't like it that much. I think that I mean I gotta give it a fair. It's tough. It's worth more than I paid. I think $5 would be. It hasn't. I think I was expecting a Halloween story, and that's not what this is. But it's still a decent story.
I told you what it was. I told you.
No, I knew it didn't have the main antagonist in it. But I mean, going in, I other than the fact that they shouldn't have used Halloween in the title, I liked everything about it. Other than the few plot holes. So.
I don't know what you're talking about. There were no plot holes. I do not own this film. I would say I do honestly prefer this. This is one of the sequels I like better than the originals. I don't know. I find the first two Halloweens just kind of. I'll give credit where credit's due. They're creepy, but I don't know. This is more in my wheelhouse, and I dig it. Yeah. I do not own it. I paid $2.99 after a hot tip from Zeke Hansen about standard definition on Amazon.
Hell yeah!
And I would pay. I'd pay $2.75. I really enjoy this one too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good storyline. It's kind of a fun take on Halloween and Halloween masks, and it's very timely for this time of year. So yeah, for a Halloween movie, I dig it.
I will say that again, this was an old favorite as a kid, and then every time I hear every Halloween, like I've really got to watch it almost just for that jingle. Like I don't know, it really sets the feeling for me.
Yeah, it'll get you in the mood for scratching your eyes out for sure.
Indeed.
So next up, I have the how-to video for Rob Layman in the Forestry Service, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yes. And this is my favorite of the ones we will cover.
Really?
Yeah, the ones we'll cover, yeah.
Nice. I really... Yeah, I liked it. Again, I was expecting more along the lines of the first one. And this was just... I've seen parts of the first one. I haven't actually just sat down and watched the whole thing, but I'll catch it in the hotel room from time to time.
You'll catch it in a hotel room?
Yeah, so I'll watch the beginning and I'll fall asleep, or I'll start in the middle to the end and I'll finish it. But I've never actually sat down and just watched it.
What? It's always on TV? What are you talking about?
I mean, in hotels they have everything. They have everything on TV. So
every time
it's just one of those shows that, like, no matter what, if I'm flipping through, it seems like more often than not it's on one of the channels I flip through, and I'll be like, oh, I haven't actually watched the whole thing. Maybe I'll get through it this time, and I don't.
I don't know what the hell is station. I mean, what station?
There are like 900
I've never seen
stations.
It on TV.
So
all right, yeah. So I don't know if the odds work out on that, Zeke, but okay. If you say every time you go to a hotel,
it's just one of those things.
Every time you go to a hotel, Texas Chainsaw Man.
Not every, a lot, just a lot. Like for a weird movie, it's one of those things. Like, well, it's on again.
I don't. You're telling so many fibs these days.
Yep. Well,
I was going to say quick. Return of the Living Dead. That is one of the ones where I don't really like the sequel as much. Return of the Living Dead 2 is okay, but after that, I don't know. There's 3 or 4 more after that, and they're not so good. The 2 is all right, but the first one is just superb. Okay, on to more Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What's the synopsis?
So the movie starts out with 2 guys who really hate mailboxes. And they're 2 just
vandals.
2 just vandal jerks on their way to a football game. I think it's Oklahoma versus Texas or something. And then they piss off the wrong hombres on the drive, and they get run down and chopped up.
They were playing chicken with some old hick, they thought.
Yep, and then the crime scene for them, after they get all hacked up to pieces by a dancing skeleton, There's a Dennis Hopper in a cowboy hat rolls up, and he's, basically pissing all over the crime scene, saying this is my town. And then he goes and buys 3 chainsaws, and he tests them out, lays like $500 cash down on this stump, and then doesn't try to start them, just like wields them around with.
Just testing his
just testing, like, is it okay? Like, if I were to run a marathon with these and wield them around my opponents, would I be able to get through the race? And that's what he bases his buying on. And then amidst this, there's a disc jockey who record, like, these 2 jerks who are killed have been calling in, pestering Stretch is her name, and she records. Like, for whatever reason, the radio station she works for, you can't hang up on a caller. You got to wait for them to hang up. So she's stuck on the phone with these idiots, and it just records them being murdered. So then she tracks down Dennis Hopper's character, and it's like, hey, I can help you. And he's drunk, and he says, hit it, you're all wet. And then he goes off on his own, and then he sets her up to be the bait, and she doesn't know that. And then Chop Top and his brother Leatherface come, and she gets her partner's murdered, and then she's there left for dead, and then she tries to follow him because Dennis Hopper abandoned him. She follows him to her dad's place where he makes chili out of people, and then Dennis Hopper
and it wins best
to
chili
town.
in Texas.
Yeah, best chili in Texas 2 years in a row, and then Dennis Hopper
all
comes.
about the meat.
Yeah, it's all about the meat. And then Dennis Hopper comes and goes ape shit on this underground tunnel. And everybody dies except Stretch, who starts wielding a chainsaw like she's going to be the next Leatherface at the end of this movie.
Chop Top might be okay.
I think he'll be okay.
I mean, he just fell down a tube.
After he got stabbed and slit his own throat like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, he did. Oh, man, Chop Top. What
Chop
a great
Top
guy.
He was a great character, though. I liked him.
So again, this is another one that's just not overly gory. There's definitely some, I wouldn't say it's the goriest one on the list today, but there's some solid gore too. Yeah.
Not a lot of people die. There's only like 8 people that die.
Yeah, so. But it's kind of another over the top schlock, B campy.
Yeah.
Oh, just the best.
It's a good Red River rock and roll request line. This is Stretch.
Poor old Stretch.
Don't call me darling, damn it.
You really know some quotes.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, Leatherface, you destroyed my favorite Sonny Bono wig.
Autograph it to a far out man. A far out fan.
To a
far out fan.
A far out man.
Fan.
Dog will hunt. Dog will hunt.
Dog will hunt. Dog will hunt.
Tell you what, I would not go to Nomland, though. I do not want. I don't want any part of that. Nomland.
Oh, man, I love this movie.
Go ahead.
I was watching this after The Exorcist, and I bet you the whole time I just had the biggest shit-eating grin on my face. I was so happy. I love it.
I wish I could have watched it with you, because that would have been fun. I got a kick out of it watching it myself, but I was the only one here when I watched it.
Sure.
Dog will hunt.
Dog will hunt.
I gotta look up some quotes here. I'm failing myself.
I thought it was good. I was looking at some trivia for this, and Chop Top's character, he got I don't remember his real name, but he got the role because
Bill Moseley.
That one. He made a short film where he was the hitchhiker or the brother of he played the hitchhiker in the short film. As a short film, as if he had been in the first one. It was
that's interesting.
It was Texas Chainsaw Manicure was the title of the short film. He just had he set it up so he'd have a decent role, and then when they made the sequel, they made him. I guess he's the brother of the hitchhiker, and the body that he dances with is the hitchhiker from the first one.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Here's a great quote.
You have one choice, boy. Sex or the saw. Sex is, well, nobody knows. But the saw is family.
Saw doesn't lie. Saw doesn't lie.
Well, here's some interesting things.
Trash is dancing again.
Drag's taking her clothes off again. No secret, it's the meat.
Don't skimp on the meat. I've got a real good eye for prime meat. Runs in the family.
And what does he say? It's like one of those hard-shelled peppercorns.
Peppercorns, yeah. The judge, she gets a bone. He goes, "Oh, don't mind that. That's just a hard-shell peppercorn." As she's eating human chili. Interesting behind the scenes. I know I said I didn't like behind the scenes, but I guess this was just I was paying attention to this. In the close-ups, the chainsaws have the actual chain on. I don't know if you're familiar with chainsaws, but you can take the chain off. So in close-ups, the chain is on, but in a lot of those scenes, like where he's flying it, waving the chainsaw around, the chain is off.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So I assume this is like the rig that Hopper used with he had the chainsaw holsters and the straps. What do you call them? Shoulder straps.
Yeah. Okay.
I assume that's required dress code for you in the forest.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah. I mean, it's either that you can choose that, or you can choose Leatherface. You have to make your own mask, or you can be Ash from Evil Dead. Those are the three.
No, I mean, I think for the forestry, you got to be uniform. He was wearing tan. You got to go with the double holster.
You're right. You know more than me about it.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to help. I want you to have that job for a long time.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. So, Nomland.
Nom flashback.
That was. I think he stole the show from me. Yeah, I liked Stretch, but Chop Top was a lot of fun to watch.
Peel that pig and slice him thick.
Yep.
That's great. I don't know everything about this movie. I think that the mise en scene is just spectacular. I mean, they really did a good job making the underground layer of the cannibal family just fucking weird. They got skeleton everything, chandeliers and
Grandma and Grandpa seemed like they'd seen better days, but they were still trucking along.
Grandpa's strict liquid diet keeps him fresh as a rose.
Still quicker than lightning.
That didn't turn out to be true.
No, it did not. He couldn't even hold a damn hammer. And Grandma was just blowing dust.
That's interesting. I wonder. It seemed like she might have been alive. I don't know.
Yeah, they made it seem like she was alive, but clearly that could not have been true.
No.
So I haven't seen the third one at all in any of my hotel dwellings. Does Stretch make a comeback?
No. This is the only. It's been a while since I've seen the third one, but no, I don't believe.
Because I think in her trivia there are 3 characters she attributes to Stretch, and I guess she plays a reporter. I assumed it was the third one, not quite the same character, but she was a reporter. And then there's another role unrelated where they said, "We just want you to be Stretch."
Huh.
So,
I don't know if that's.
And then I guess she's in Sharknado 4, and her name is Stretch, but she says that doesn't count.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. But in her audition for the role,
lick my plate, you dog dick.
when they called her in for the audition, she ran down the hallway, and then she sprinted into the room and shut the door, and then took the chairs, the director and the producer, and slammed them up against the door to keep the Leatherface out. And then she started her audition, which I thought was kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
I think a fun scene is her buddy El Cid unfortunately got his face cut off.
LG.
Excuse me. Shame on me. And,
she was wearing his face for a bit.
Yeah, Leatherface puts it on her, and he's not dead.
Even though he got his head hit in by 30 times with a hammer from Chop Top.
His face chopped off. The left side of his, or maybe the right side of his body was skinned.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Stretch while she's wearing his face. I don't know why. I just get a kick out of that.
He'll be okay. I think he made it out.
He will be just fine.
Yep.
He'll be just fine. So anyways, yeah. What else? Anything else?
I think that's all I had. I enjoyed it. I bought it used when I could have bought it new for the same price. I think I was on the phone when I realized that. Phone with you when I realized that. I ended up paying $5.99, and I think I would pay. I'd give this one. I'd pay $5.99 for it again.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to say one more quote. Burn her like a rat. Burn her like a rat. Burn her like a rat.
Yep.
Okay. I do not own this one, and I don't know why. Once I tried to order it online, and something happened, I didn't get it. So again, I paid $4.99. Gladly pay $4.99. I'll pay $4.99 every goddamn Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Baby.
You watched it on the iTunes or the Amazon?
iTunes.
Just the rental?
That's right.
All right.
I probably should have just bought it, but I'd rather have the DVD. So
yeah, I hear you there.
I need to get on it.
I like having the DVD as well. And they just came out with a special edition Blu-ray, so there you go.
Oh, no kidding. That's awesome. I'm glad that it's still alive.
Mm-hmm. Unlike most of the characters in this movie. Stretch is still alive. Stretch made it.
Stretch. And maybe Chop Top.
And
also.
Maybe Chop Top.
Yeah. The Dennis Hopper and Leatherface have a chainsaw, like a sword duel, which I think is really,
I thought
really
that
cool.
was fun. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Dennis Hopper said that this was the worst film that he ever did until he changed his mind.
And he saw Mario, I bet.
And then he said that Mario was his worst film.
What an asshole.
Yeah.
Those are like two of his fun.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Dennis.
Yep.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Yep. R.I.P. Which he
R.I.P.
does in this
Danny.
movie.
Yeah,
Yep.
he does.
So.
Yeah, you probably maybe you didn't catch it. I'll just say it real quick. He runs into the corpse of somebody from the first movie too, which is apparently his.
His brother or something. Yeah.
Well,
in a wheelchair.
his nephew. Yeah.
Okay.
And one more thing I was going to say is all the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, at least the originals before the remakes, end in a very similar way to this one, with just like either Leatherface or somebody else just like spinning a chainsaw in the air. That's just their trademark.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So the last one, number 5, Re-Animator.
Re-Animator.
And do you want me to do the synopsis for this one too, or have I butchered them to a point where you want to take over?
No, I'm having fun with you.
All right. So this film is about a scientist in training in, I assume, Germany. And then he comes over after his mentor is murdered by him. And he's trying to develop a cure for death.
He saved him.
He didn't save him. He's trying to develop a cure for death. And then moves in with a fellow trainee. I don't know what you call what
He's
they're
a medical
doing.
student.
A fellow medical student.
Yeah.
And his the other medical student's girlfriend is the dean's daughter. And things go south on them, but they do actually figure out how to. I don't know if it's a cure for death. They are able to bring you back from the dead, but you are still dead. And then he gets into a competition with his professor, who wants to take his findings. And then he's been trying to find fresh bodies so that they haven't been dead so long that he can try to keep their cognizant, abilities together, and they're not just roaming around drooling.
The fresher the body, the better the results.
And this escalates to where he's actually killing people. Arnold Schwarzenegger's body double for most of his films does a number on him, and then he kills the dean's dad, kills his friends. Kills the dean, which really complicates things. And then his professor comes and tries to take his work and blackmails him. He cuts his head off with a shovel, and then his professor runs off carrying his head.
Because he brought him back to life.
He brought him back to life, and then his professor runs off with his own head.
Yep.
And then he evidently has mind control ability that he can wield over other zombies. So he
lobotomized him, you fool.
No, he's a sorcerer, and then he brings this morgue back to life. Yeah, he's a witch, and he brings the morgue back to life, and then at the end they just kind of run off, except not to happily ever after. One guy lives, the other guy is questionable, and then the girlfriend gets shot with glow in the dark stuff. So
she got choked to death apparently
by a single arm, a bodiless arm. Like they should have used the tagline from Halloween 3 where they say they're fun, they're frightening, and they glow in the dark. That's what they should have said about the Re-Animator. They're using glow stick fluid. That's what all that stuff was. It was glow stick juice.
Surprised. I didn't know that, but I'm not
First time
surprised.
it was ever used.
Pretty clever way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and our buddy Herbert,
you killed him. No, I gave him
life. Classic. Yeah, and our buddy Herbert West at the end there, he's getting choked to death by some reanimated intestines.
Yeah,
innards. Anyways, I don't know.
Innards, and I mean this. So this is another one that you didn't like the sequel better than the original.
I've never seen it, but I can't imagine.
But Herbert West is back.
Yeah, I think he's in all of them.
So
Jeffrey Combs doesn't have too much going on, unfortunately, or probably fortunately. Really, he's not so good.
But
sorry,
Jeffrey. I'm sure he's listening.
Yeah.
So I mean, one guy actually makes it alive, and then the other guy gets eaten by lower intestine into a.
He might be okay. He's
torso.
probably okay.
He's probably okay. And then the girlfriend the whole time, who tries to she's pseudo raped by a head. She does not make it. A hand strangles her, and then she is injected with the secret of the ooze at the end of the movie.
The way you describe things just makes me laugh. She's strangled by a hand.
Yeah,
I mean you're not wrong. It's
a
just
bodiless hand. Yeah,
well, that's more like an arm.
Sure. I mean, it seems so. There's a theme in Evil Dead. There's just a arm, a hand running around. In Return of the Living. No, not in what is it? What was it? In Halloween 3, there's a same thing, an arm just wandering around with a hand, and then in this one, like they hacked off the hand with an axe, but not in time. They just kept strangling her in the elevator.
Right.
They couldn't bring her back, so it ends the same way it began, with him not being able to save somebody. But now he has the secret of the ooze, and Shredder won't get it.
Poor guy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's based on an H.P. Lovecraft short story of the same, what's called Herbert West, the Re-Animator. It's kind of loose, so it's set like in World War I, the story, but the results are essentially the same. It's just set in a different time, so I don't know if you'd say that's inspired by, I suppose, even though they say it's...
Yeah, I think that I don't think it would have been. It would have been a lot harder to make a film on the the Western Front about this type of thing.
For sure.
Given the budgetary constraints that they clearly had, but I thought that they did a really good job. The head was fun, and they clearly skipped a lot of issues with prosthetic by just showing the back of the head. Most of the time. Yeah, I liked the use of the paper sticker as the foundation to hold it up.
Yeah.
They had some great lines, but a fun little thing. I don't know if it influenced or not, but this film came out before Die Hard 1, and at the very beginning, Andy. No, what's his name? What's the villain in? I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. The villain from Die Hard 1.
Gary Busey.
No, that's Lethal Weapon.
Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber, but Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman.
Oh, yeah.
That was his first movie, and his famous character there is Hans Gruber. And in Re-Animator, at the very beginning, the guy that he's on the floor trying to reanimate, that's his doctor, Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
I don't know if it influenced it or not.
Hans Gruber is a reanimated.
Hans Gruber is reanimated into a villain in Die Hard.
He seems to handle it a lot better than these
he did. I mean, he got it right the first time, and then he shouldn't have changed the recipe. But I liked the lines. He's not insane. He's dead. I don't know. They did. Evidently, the director has a thing where he kills people with a shovel in his films. So I was not aware of that. It seemed weird that the head was cut off with a shovel, given the other opportunities around him. But
Do you know other films that he's had people killed?
No, they made a point of listing it on the trivia. The director had it's his kind of his
that's his trademark.
His trademark killing is that someone in the film dies with a shovel. So
kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I should say that.
I thought it was weird that the dean they didn't bother to wash him off after he was dead, like just covered in blood. They just threw him into a straitjacket. They didn't bother to
throw him in the.
He's just like raving, it covered in blood still in the straitjacket. I thought it was entertaining. Not my favorite of the bunch by any means, but I thought it was good. The last Puritan didn't survive. But
no, that's for sure. Oh, right. I was just looking at the director and his other movies. Yeah, I've seen quite a few. Though I don't remember Shovel Deaths. Okay, cool. Yeah, I remember I got this first time I saw it was back in the day when Netflix was doing strictly sending you the DVDs in the mail, and I watched it and I just fell in love, and it's become a Friday the 13th and a Halloween must for me. It's a lot of fun, and I showed it to some roommates of mine once that you know, and we made a drink called the Re-Animator. It was
I would like to try that.
Yeah, vodka and green energy drink.
Nice. That sounds good.
And we would toast to the human spirit.
I was a little disappointed. I'm sure that was a good toast. I was a little disappointed though. Like I think the sequel to this is called The Bride of the Re-Animator.
Yep.
And the Megan girl that's with him and then dies at the end, she's in the third one, I guess, as somebody else. But she's not the bride in the sequel, so that kind of eliminated my desire to I would assume, yeah. I would hope that the girl that he clearly injects at the end would be the bride, but that's not the case. So
sounds dirty.
Here endeth the line for me.
Yeah, fair enough. What would you rate this old boy?
I paid $7.99 for this film.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I think I would say I'd pay $3.99 for it again.
$3.99. Okay, that's still over 60% or so.
Yeah.
I own this one. Let's say I paid $15. I would probably do $12 or so.
Yeah. You paid $15. Oh, because of Netflix.
Excuse me. No, I bought. I own it.
Oh, you ended. Okay, all right. Nice.
Do you want me to incorporate Netflix monthly fees?
No. You paid $900 for this movie.
It's been
totally worth it.
Totally worth it.
Dog will hunt.
Dog will hunt.
Yeah.
Oh, Leatherface.
The embalming business is basically passed on by word of mouth. And I think the Re-Animator could have used that. Could have used that line.
They could
like this job.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that was a good selection of 5 films.
Cool. Good. Thanks for doing it. I'm glad you didn't find it a complete waste of your time, and thanks for spending the money. I didn't really consider that when we started doing this.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's a good expense.
Cool. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, the constant professionals that we are, I guess we didn't really plan on how to end it, but I guess that's probably it, huh?
Happy Halloween, everybody. We hope you have a wonderful ghoulish night and get diabetes from all the candy you steal from your kids.
Yeah, or if you are a kid, you probably shouldn't be listening to this.
Or if you have diabetes, you probably shouldn't steal your kids' candy.
That's true. And send us all your candy to the corner of Afton and Afton 555 Screw You.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you guys enjoyed this list, and have a great Halloween. Watch some horror movie if it's your thing.
Yeah, watch along. Red River Rock and Roll request line. This is Stretch. Okay, love you, die.
Pretty clever. Happy Halloween, everyone.